What's the most embarrassing thing you saw someone doing because they thought nobody was watching? I was in college and it was a very rainy day. I was late to class and happened to see a guy with a pretty heavy looking backpack, looking like he was going to jump off a diving board. He was rocking his arms, bending his knees enough to look like he was gonna sit down for a crap and everything. Instead of walking around it, he was trying to jump over a huge butt puddle. I watched him prep himself for a good 20 seconds, which was probably way too long to be staring at someone. He attempted said jump, slipped backwards due to his huge backpack, and got absolutely soaked. I feel bad saying I laughed quite hard. During my maturing days as a 14-year-old boy, I had discovered online P. I mean really, who didn't? But was unaware of the browser history being able to be checked by anyone else using the family computer. My interest at the time was a website called myfriendshotmom.com, which I would frequently visit when trying to release teenage angst. One night at dinner, my parents sat us kids down to talk to us about something very disturbing they found in the browser history and had very serious looks on their faces. Naturally, having grown up in a Christian home with two other brothers, I knew my P obsession was found out. My parents began to talk to us about violence and their worry about the glorification of violence online, etc. Naturally, I was very confused as this was not the discussion I was expecting. My mother, obviously the more jolted by what she found online, blurted out, "I'm just very worried because someone in this family has been looking at a website called My Friend Shot Mom and it's made me very uncomfortable." I didn't say a freaking word to correct her. Crisis averted. Okay, so back when I was still living with mom, she had one of her friends up for the week with her son. There wasn't enough room in the house for them to stay inside, so they decided to camp out in the backyard. Now I was working construction at the time and was up pretty early to get ready. The one morning while I was putting my lunch together, I looked out the kitchen window to see my mom's friend squatting over a plastic bag taking a crap in it right there in the open. One of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And then she proceeds to walk inside with her bag of fresh crap to get rid of it and stops dead in her tracks when she realizes that I am up. To this day I don't understand why, if her plan was to come inside to get rid of it, why she didn't just walk inside and use the fully functional toilet and just cut out squatting over a plastic bag in the middle of a field. She wanted the genuine camping experience. When I was in military base training in Austria, we used to jog every morning with our drill sergeant. We were stationed on an airport and so our route contained usually one airport round. This day, our sergeant was in a good mood and when we started to run, he asked us if we got cigarettes with us. Most of us did, so he said fine and started running. We behind him. We just started running and were next to a slender part of a forest, when suddenly our drill sergeant made a turn to the left into the forest. The forest was probably 10 meters, 30 feet wide, and we went inside. He told us we won't be running today, and let's chill here in the bushes in the forest, hang out and have fun while smoking some cigarettes. We just had to pay attention to the side where we went in, that no other jogging groups would see us so we and our drill sergeant won't get in trouble. We also had to take care of the other side of the forest exit, as there was a small fence and a sidewalk where civilians sometimes passed. So we were in between the trees, probably 20 young men with our drill sergeant. If somebody would pass from either side and look into the forest, he would have seen us. But we were quite remote there, so we didn't expect anyone to pass. Suddenly, two elder women, probably around 50-60, walked along the fence. The sergeant saw it and told us to shut up. We watched those women pass by. They didn't see us, so we continued to chat. After about 5 minutes, one of the two women again came along. She probably brought the other home or something and was heading back. Again, we shut up and watched her walking. When she was at our height, she stopped. She stopped and started looking back and forth, seemingly checking if someone was around. She looked to every side, except to the forest. Then, she pulled down her pants, got on her knees, and took a huge dump right next to us. We were probably 2-3 meters away and exploded in silent laughter. I hold my mouth with both hands shut. The two guys next to me both bit me in my arm so they won't make a sound. Almost all were rolling, laughing, holding their mouths. The woman then peed on her turd, pulled on her pants, and went her ways. Luckily, she did not hear us. Although we were pretty loud when she started squizzing out the turd, her back was turned towards us so we basically saw everything. I still can't believe what a coincidence that was. TLDR. We were 20 guys in military training, hiding in between trees next to a sidewalk because we took a break. Saw a woman take a huge dump right next to us. 2 meters, 6.5 feet away, because she thought she's alone. She didn't notice. We died laughing. That was your stealth training. Every summer my friends and I go to a water park. As we are adults we often like to drink while we're at the water park. So one summer we were sitting in the bar area that the water park had set up enjoying overpriced beer. There was a woman sitting at a picnic table just below the balcony of the bar. She slides back so that her rear end is hanging over the bench and just pees right there on the AstroTurf while still chatting with her friends. She thought that no one had seen her and that she had gotten away with it. But we saw and thought it was absolutely disgusting. It's insane to think people actually do this, lol. I used to work in an office right next to a FedEx facility. Our windows were reflective and faced the FedEx truck parking lot. Sometimes we'd see FedEx employees change into their uniforms behind the trucks, not realizing that the mirrored surface that was right next to them was actually an office with about 10 people watching them. When I was in 3rd grade I let out a ginormous loud fart I thought would be silent. I was mortified. Everyone in the class erupted with laughter and the teacher started asking who did that. I was so afraid someone would point to me, but before they could, a kid, no, a hero, named Alex raised his hand and said it was him. He was always a weird kid so people believed it and that was that. IDK if he was being nice or just likes taking credit for farts, but I wish I could thank him. I do freelance work at sports events. One time, between setup and the time the game started, I was standing at the top of a hill that leads up to the building. I looked around to make sure nobody was there. Then I laid down and rolled down that sucker. It was super steep, and it was awesome. I got up, brushed myself off, and went back inside to work. Found out the next week that my boss had seen me, and had told everybody on the crew. Joy. That's adorable. Enjoying the simpler things in life. Whenever my shift is quiet, I take a couple minutes break and go practice doing handstands on the nice grass by our building. I'm awful and can hold it for about 2 seconds before I flip over and land hard on my ass. Last week the security guy offhandedly mentioned there's a CCTV camera that points almost exactly at that location. He's been watching me handstand for about 2 weeks. At parties I would often dedicate myself a look in the mirror with a smile for a confidence boost. But this one time there was another guy doing the exact same thing, raising his eyebrow and smooching at himself. There was a silent agreement not to talk about it. I still wonder if he remembers. I too am a neat guy, and I too am just a love machine. I saw an old man jerking off underneath his table at a New Orleans strip club. I didn't say anything because it took him about 20 seconds, and I was so drunk that I only had one eye open. There's different rules in New Orleans after midnight. There's different rules in New Orleans after midnight. If that's not the truest thing I've ever heard. I once saw a girl holding an ice cream cone in one hand and her phone in the other lick the screen of her phone. When we made eye contact and she realized I'd seen it happen, she looked like she was going to die. One of the few memories I have of my sweet Southern grandma is when we were having a popsicle on our front porch. I had also recently found a bird feather and couldn't part with it. In the chaos of popsicle time with grandma, I accidentally licked the feather. My grandma laughed so incredibly hard. I'll never forget her laugh and the joy my absent-mindedness always brought her. Used to go to an old style gym years ago with an open shower setup. I hated to use the shower, but I'd work out before work and I'd have to get up even earlier to work out, then go back home to shower, then turn back around for work. So, the gym shower made more sense. One day I was done working out and was heading towards the shower when I hear someone yell, "What the frick are you doing?" I got there in time to see some dude with an erection turning beet red because he got caught jerking off in the public shower. He apologized over and over as he walked out, but you could tell he was mortified. I don't know what he thought could happen doing that in a public shower. Maybe he was excited by the thought, then once he got caught felt really stupid. Anyway, that guy was clearly ashamed of himself and I've never seen anyone look more embarrassed. So, I am going to have to go with that. I would normally correct beat red, but here it seems appropriate. I was in a meeting in my client's boardroom. The boardroom was at ground level and the exterior glass was mirrored on the outside but see-through from inside. In the middle of the meeting, some sketchy looking dude comes over and starts picking his teeth in the mirror. Then he looks left, looks right, sees he has privacy, so he whips out his junk and starts inspecting it in the mirror. He then started trying to pop dong pimples or something. My client just got up, walked over to the glass, and gave a little rap on the window in front of him. He put his junk away and moved on. I'm the weirdo. I usually take my iPod with me when I go to the shops, because it's the only me time I get. Unbeknown to me, I had a tendency to bop my head along to the music, and more. I was simply enjoying my me time. This had garnered the attention of the staff. I became known as the dancing customer. I discovered that one when I couldn't find something I wanted, and asked one of the staff to help me. From an aisle over, I heard him ask an older colleague for the specific thing I'd requested and then say, yeah, it's the dancing lady asking. That's how I found out I wasn't always just listening to the music. I can't dance to save my life. I'm sure the CCTV logs are very interesting. Ugh, okay. So basically there was a lot of construction going on in our house and one fine morning, I forgot to lock the freaking door before bathing. My back was towards the wall, but there was a glass vase by which I could see the scene behind. One of the workers accidentally got in and froze. During this time I had the option of pretending I did not see him, B, shrieking for good God. I went with option A because my mom would have pretty much fired the poor guy who accidentally saw her daughter's butt, but he literally just stood there for 30 frozen horrific seconds before running the frick away. If you think that was awkward, imagine the guy working on our house and my room for a week after this. He couldn't look at me. I would constantly have a smile grimace hybrid on my face when I'd see him. And on the third last day when we crossed each other and he gave me finger guns before scampering away like he'd seen an octopus with the face of James Franco. The finger guns got me LMAO. I'm a canoe guide, and being the guide I'm usually in the back of the canoe, steering. On this particular day, because it was training and I was with a bunch of my co-workers, I was in the front. When I'm in the back, I'll periodically check to see if any plumber's crack is showing by basically feeling my lower back top of my butt crack with my finger, then readjust my underwear if needed. I'm in the back of the boat, so no one sees that. However, on this day I did it in the front, giving the guy in the back of the boat a full showing of me fingering my butt crack. He promptly said, I think that's a back of boat maneuver. I'm imagining you freezing in place when he pipes up, finger lodged in crack. I was on family vacation to Hawaii when I was 9. For some reason, I didn't think anyone in the busy resort would notice me trying to stick my dong into one of the hot tub's water jets. Need to know what happened next? How did it feel? Come in, we need to know more. I once purchased sex toys online, including anal beads online. I came home to find the parcel containing these items open sitting on my bed with a note from my mum saying sorry. Thought it was my parcel. The shame was unbearable and I still cringe when I think about it. I tried to deflect by texting her to ask if she had any wrapping paper I could use for the joke present I bought for my friend's 21st. Yug. It wasn't that no one was watching, but more of an accident that an old man thought no one had seen. I was working in a home improvement store at the time and I was about to go on break, but I stopped in the bathroom because I thought why not get paid to poop. So I walk in and I see an 80-ish-year-old man walking towards the exit and then turn around and go to a stall. When he saw me walk in, I didn't think much of it, so I went on with my business. I get done, walk out, go on break. 15 minutes later, clock back in and go to the fountains to fill up my water. There I see the old man walking out as fast as he could, not very fast, with soaking wet pants. Apparently he had peed his pants right before he made it to the bathroom and he didn't want anyone to see, so he was waiting for no one to be in the bathroom before he made his escape to the electric wheelchair we had in the store. I noticed, but I didn't want to embarrass him, so I just smiled and nodded at the man and he smiled back while he scurried over to the wheelchair. I felt bad for him, and I like to believe that no one else saw his accident but me. Oh, It was me. I was waiting for an online interview for an internship program, and while the interviewer was away I remembered I still had my septum piercing on. So obviously I pushed it inside my nose before anyone noticed. As I was adjusting the hidden piercing, the interviewer got online and saw me basically picking on my nose like an butthole. We had an awful 5 seconds of silence before she decided to proceed with the interview like nothing happened. I got the internship and now have to avoid her around the company because she always seems to remember and look at me funny. Should have just told her. Not my story, but my mum's. My sister had requested a cake from a specific shop that we'd never been to before, and mum went in to order it. The kitchen was visible from the front of the shop, and one of the workers was icing a cake. He licked the spatula and continued icing. Mum saw everything. She still ordered a cake from that shop, and we ate it. I was in the drive-thru at a Dairy Queen once and saw someone sitting in the lobby licking on an ice cream cone. She gets up, walks to the kitchen area and dips her ice cream in the melted chocolate and goes back to the lobby. It was when I was around 12, so I guess you can't judge another 12-year-old too much. But we were at day camp and I look over and one of the kids in our group is in the corner just playing with his sack without a care in the world. We had a house guest staying with us for several days. On the second day I came home early from work and found him going through my SO's drawers. He had no idea he was being observed. But later I took him aside and told him that it was time for him to go, that we needed our privacy. Did you imply or tell him you knew what he did, or did you just tell him he needed to go? I was the one getting embarrassed on this occasion. My housemate walked in on me while I was frantically beating off to P-Hub with my headphones on. He wanted to invite me out for dinner and budge into my room without knocking. We locked eyes for a solid few seconds. My hand was on my dong. I was stark naked, boxer down at my ankles, seated on my chair. Nothing could have been done to avoid that scene other than to take it like a champ and just smile and ask what's up. He managed to utter out an oops, my bad for his untimely invitation and closed the door. I was mortified, but I soldiered on to finish the job after he left. We are still friends till this day, and every time we think of the cringe-worthy occasion, we'd have a good laugh at ourselves, but mostly me. My brother walked in on his best friend roommate beating it. The way he tells it, they made slightly awkward eye contact, at which point his roommate got a big crap-eating grin and said, "Yeah, caught me." Still a favorite story to share and our most quotable. I have a lovely elderly neighbor across the way who tends her garden almost daily. She is sweet as can be and doesn't bother a fly. Our houses are pretty far apart. I'm not a good judge of distances, but it's far enough that she feels concealed. When I sit on my front porch, I can see her clear as day wherever she is in her yard, but she can't see me because of the arrangement of plants between us and my slightly higher elevation. She always adjusts herself, like overtly. She has a routine every time she stands up and moves. From kneeling on a planting cushion, she stands up, pulls off her garden gloves, does a little wiggle shake, jams her entire hand down the back of her pants and evacuates a wedge, pulls her bra strap down where it rode up in the back, scoops each tip back into place, and moves down to a new spot to garden. She repeats this maybe 25 times before she calls it a day. I sit outside and smoke a bowl and watch her, and it delights the heck out of me. In a she's a cute, funny old lady way, not a sexual way, just to be clear. Or, I love this. The very first time my girlfriend ever came to my house, we decided to watch Lord of the Rings. She had never seen it before and was excited to watch it. Anyway, she was laying down on my bed with legs pointed towards the ceiling and butt up against the wall, kind of like an L shape. So during one of the tense scenes, IDK which I do the whole grab her sides and go RAGHH thing. She then proceeded to let the loudest and longest fart I'd ever heard anyone release. And because her butt was against the wall, it reverberated and made it seem even louder. I just burst out laughing for like 5 minutes straight, and she is so embarrassed she starts crying. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. We're still together and have a 2-year-old now. Well, of course you have a kid together. You know her most embarrassing secret. Can't have someone like that running around untamed. She had to lock you down. I was walking downtown with a buddy of mine, just casually chatting, and I stopped to light a smoke. While we were stopped, my friend started adjusting his hair. using his reflection in the tinted window of the glasses store we were right beside. As soon as I looked up at him, from my angle, I could clearly see that the front counter of the glasses store was like 6 feet behind the window where my buddy was looking. It was pointed directly at him, and both of the girls at the counter were just staring, perplexed looks and all, while he appeared to stare directly back at them, still adjusting and checking himself out. So I obviously just watched and let this go on for another 30 seconds until my friend started to walk away, at which point I told him to look through the window. So he immediately saw the two girls he'd been staring at for the last minute. They both waved and laughed, and my friend awkwardly waved back and then looked straight at his shoes and briskly walked away. My buddy did this, but it was a tinted car window and he was popping a massive pimple on his face. He didn't know someone was in the car. The girl started screaming like she was being murdered. I used to deliver newspapers. One Sunday I got the papers extremely early and delivered to a Sunday only customer at around 3 AM. When it's this early, I always lift my paper up and smile so customers don't think I'm there to rob them. As I approached this house, I noticed movement inside. Cue the smile and raised newspaper as I witnessed a shirtless, middle-aged man with a large pot belly rubbing his belly vigorously. I approach, smile and paper in hand. He notices me and runs out of the room. I'm thinking, no dude, don't. Do your thing. I'm just a paper boy. Don't let me dictate how you live your life. He cancelled the next week. Oh god, it was me. I wore a new dress at work with a really full skirt. I was in the bathroom all alone and grabbed the sides of my skirt to swish it back and forth and twirled and swished and twirled. Imagine a frumpy middle-aged woman going full-on Disney princess. In walked the deputy superintendent. Instant mortification. I avoid her like the plague now. I recognize that it might seem immature and embarrassing to you, but if I walked in on a member of my staff enjoying a happy little moment like this, it would warm my heart. One day I decide to take a walk to this park near my house. I take my book, a couple of joints, good way to kill a summer's evening, right? So I go and find my favorite tree and climb up to a comfy position high up in the branches. Some guy is walking in the park and, well, clearly, nature called. Without noticing me sat above him in the tree, he pulls down his pants and does a massive stinking turd, pulls up his pants without wiping and walks off as if it's all cool. So I'm sat there, having seen everything, and now I have to climb down from a tree with a massive man turd right where I was going to climb down. Still a traumatic memory to this day. Imagine how he would have felt if you had called out, "Poor guy needs to take a once-in-a-lifetime emergency crap." Sneaks out into a wooded area, then mid-push he gets spotted by a stoner smoking in the fricking tree he's crapping on. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.